Don't cheat off my notes.
I memorized them all. Welcome to Hooked on Football, your go-to podcast for everything NFL. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just getting into the game, we're here to break down the action on and off the field. Each week we'll dive into the latest news from around the league, including game recaps, picks and predictions, analysis and insights. From injury reports to power rankings and everything in between, we'll keep you connected to all things NFL. In order to keep up with us, please like, share, subscribe, and follow, because once you're hooked on football, there's no going back.
The regular season has come to a close. It's time for playoff football.
Oh, yeah.
First time that all three of our teams have made the playoffs since we've been friends. So all three of our teams, because I have two. For anybody who doesn't know that.
Yeah. Wow.
Lions, Broncos, and Packers, did they?
Stafford made it 1 year. Is that back when Broncos were good?
He made it. I know the Lions and Broncos made it 1 year together.
Yeah, and then the Packers
Since we've been
there
friends. Yeah, true.
missed like once or twice.
Yeah, true. That must be nice.
Actually, it's not, because you get all this hope and let you down every time. So.
Yeah, well, only one team is happy at the end of every season.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see who that is this year. We'll give some hints as to who we think it is when we make our first-round picks coming up.
Well, it's none of these first teams we're going to talk about, because got some news items. Pretty much just like
all Black Monday news.
Yeah, front office type of news. There's a couple player things, but first bit, really the first thing that happened after the regular season ended. Patriots fired head coach Gerard Mayo pretty much directly after the game.
Yeah.
Team went 4-13, had the first round pick, and then won a meaningless game against Buffalo and lost it. And kind of he looked rough as a head coach all season.
I wish I knew if he knew going into the game that he was getting fired, and wonder if that motivated him to win,
to be petty.
Lose them the first pick.
That's also a bad look, though.
Because the Patriots had definitely made that decision before the game. It was like shortly after the game they announced, or they released a press release.
It was probably just
long worded.
Out of anger right at that moment. Kraft was like, oh, this
it was too long and thought out for him to have released it that quick. So I have a feeling it was a decision that was made.
No, maybe he knew and he was just petty about it.
Which I would probably do the same thing.
It'd be hard not to, but you're a professional. Don't do that.
The only reason, well, if he goes somewhere else, he wants them to have a better pick. So if it could potentially be one of the other teams that moves up. But the only one thing that makes me question it is that he's a Patriots legend, so maybe he still has love for the organization.
Yeah.
But and another firing, the Jaguars fired head coach Doug Peterson. That one seemed kind of obvious, like it was coming.
Yeah, I think we had talked about that after like week 7 or 8.
Yeah, our first episode we had talked about it, I think. Trevor Lawrence still kind of being wasted there.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if that's more on the coaches that they've had or on Lawrence. Hasn't realized his full potential. Some of both, obviously.
We'll see. Third time's the charm, maybe.
Yeah.
Or is this only his third? I don't know. Doesn't matter. We'll see.
Yeah.
If the trend continues, then maybe we start to blame Lawrence more than we have.
I've seen some rumors that Ben Johnson likes that job above some of the other ones. So between having Lawrence, having the cap space that they do, and living in Florida, some attractive to some people.
Not to me.
Not myself.
Especially not freaking Jacksonville.
Yeah. But yeah, their GM, Trent Baalke, the owner announced, will return next season. So kind of interesting that they're not going with a clean sweep. But
and then the Raiders, had fired Antonio Pierce.
Just today.
Yeah, kind of funny because he was just
yesterday
acting confident that he was going to keep the job. So
he tried to speak it into existence, but it didn't work.
He was trying to was manifesting.
To me, that's probably the least desirable job of the.
There's not much there for
you.
you.
For one, that's a tough division, especially with the Broncos making the playoffs in there. well, 3 AFC West teams making the playoffs, but the Broncos made it with a rookie quarterback.
It's the
obviously everyone knows
NFC North of the AFC.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, both my teams are in the 2 toughest divisions.
Right.
But yeah, they don't have a quarterback.
No.
They have pretty much Brock Bowers, the only exciting piece there.
Max Crosby.
Yeah, if he stays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was not thinking about him. So we'll see who ends up with that job.
Yeah.
Then the Cincinnati Bengals let go of their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo.
Not surprising after that season.
Yeah, defense really struggled this season. Obviously, the offense was tearing it up.
Yeah, had
Burrow,
best quarterback and the best receiver in the league this year.
Triple Crown winner. Chase Brown was obviously had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
T. Higgins kind of up and down a little bit, but obviously he's a stud. So yeah, the defense didn't hold up their end of the bargain, that's for sure. So not surprising on that one, like you said.
Even with Hendrickson leading the league in sacks, had like 17.5.
Yeah.
Not too bad. But yeah, kind of saw that coming, regardless of how good he had been in the past. Surprisingly, the Giants are keeping GM Joe Schoen or whatever, and Brian Daboll.
Still riding that first season playoff berth.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. Ever since he got hired, I thought he's a decent head coach. So, plus didn't have a lot to work with, but it is a little surprising in a league where teams seem so quick to fire people.
Yeah,
but also maybe kind of refreshing that stick with the guy if you believe in him.
Sure, I hadn't been really a fan of him since he got there, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what he does next year with even less quarterbacks and still no running back. Although Tracy might end up being pretty sweet.
Yeah, Tracy and Neighbors both
obviously
very talented. So if they can bring in a quarterback, I have a feeling they'll probably draft and sign a
We just looked. What do they have, second or third?
I think third. So see if their quarterback's even available when they pick.
Yeah, third.
Because Titans rumored to be interested in Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders.
Okay. Cleveland seems to be sticking with Deshaun, maybe.
Maybe. There was also some news that forgot to put in here that he suffered a setback or is just not recovering very well from his Achilles tear. So, but it was also reported that they were going to look into drafting or signing another quarterback to compete anyway. So, plus, never a bad idea to have a young quarterback sit for a year or two, as the Packers have shown. Yeah, I'm curious. I don't think any of the quarterbacks are worth taking at 3 if Ward and Shedeur are gone. So maybe they trade back, get some assets, and then take whoever they want a little bit later. But
right.
And then Dolphins general manager Chris Greer and head coach Mike McDaniel will also return in 2025. Tyreek Hill,
less surprising.
Probably less likely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance.
He said, "I'm out." So.
Yeah, and he didn't even wait till the end of the game.
Yeah, quit in the middle of the
middle of a must-win game.
Not great.
No. So honestly, I hope he doesn't go anywhere after that.
Somebody will make a move for him. He's under contract for 2 more years. So
if guys don't react the same way that they did, and I don't really like Devondre Campbell anymore because he kind of left Green Bay like a bit of a bitch, but if people don't react the same way, then there's definitely superstar bias there, because that's a bitch
although
move.
This year he wasn't much of a superstar.
No, he was a bum. But yeah, they had a weirdly disastrous season, so I'm not surprised they're sticking with their guys.
Plus, they were, like you said, they were in a must-win game to make the playoffs if the Broncos had lost, so it's not like they were far off.
Yeah.
Plus, Tua missed some time.
A bit of time. And
he always does, so I guess you kind of cut on that going forward.
That's true. Yeah. And then Colts owner Jim Irsay announced that the team's going to also retain GM Chris Ballard and head coach Shane Steichen. But DC defensive coordinator. Gus Bradley will not return. Kind
of a disappointing season for them.
Yeah.
Richardson.
All around.
A lot of people thought that this is going to be his coming out season, but not so much.
No. We'll see. Did he come out in a different way this season? And they just meant it a different way.
Could be.
Because, he definitely didn't come out as a superstar.
Yeah, franchise quarterback is definitely in question.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams I can't even quite put my thumb on exactly what I think they need, because I don't think Richardson's terrible.
No.
He's obviously not great. Flacco didn't really help them do anything either, although he's getting old.
Yeah.
So, I'll be curious to see what happens with them.
I don't know.
Pat McAfee obviously doesn't have too bright of an outlook for them.
No.
Did you see after the game, I think it was Zaire Franklin was shaking fans' hands in the end zone and went over to the McAfee suite and pretended to shake hands with nobody there. It's kind of funny, but also, I don't know. I don't know why you're in a celebratory mood when your season's over, but
I guess I don't know. I don't know what his motivation behind that was.
Yeah,
maybe just being silly.
Yeah,
but
skip ahead to the other firings first.
Yeah.
Cleveland let go of offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, as well as their offensive line coach Andy Dickerson. Did you know that their offensive line coach was Andy Dickerson?
No.
Oh, okay. Me neither. But anyway, they let both of them go.
Speaking of offensive line coaches that need fired, the Bears. Surprised we didn't get news of that.
Right.
68 sacks.
It's pretty good.
That's really good.
Off the top of my head, I believe that the Broncos led the league in sacks with 69. So the Bears giving up 68 tells you how bad that is. Because the Broncos were far and away number one by like 15 to 20 sacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nick Bonito.
Yep. They're going to need probably 69 more this weekend to win. But.
Yeah. Sack on every offensive play.
Yeah. They might win if they do that.
Mm-hmm. They might. And then Seahawks fired offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb.
That's the first time I've heard that name.
Yeah. Who? Yeah. And Titans fired GM Rand Carthen. First time I heard that name.
Who names their kid Ran? I wonder if that's his full name or not.
I don't know.
I'm not even going to waste my time.
Rantonio Carthen.
And
then
head coach Brian Callahan will return. Tennessee has the first overall pick, so see where they go with that. I believe that's the end of the major firings. Obviously, some other small coordinator type positions, assistant coaches, that kind of stuff. But we won't get into all that, or we'll be here all night.
Right.
Last one, bummer for you. Christian Watson, Green Bay wide receiver, went down on a non-contact injury in I forget what quarter it was, the second half, regardless.
Was it? I thought it was before. That was early. So that was before Love went out, and that was in the second quarter.
Oh, okay.
It was first quarter, beginning of second quarter.
But anyway, he tore his ACL.
It was
actually, opposite ACL. It was an ACL the first time.
No, it was. I don't even remember what it was the first time. But that was left knee, and this ended up being right knee.
Yep, torn ACL along with other damage. They're saying that could potentially affect the beginning of next season even. So, rough news. Jordan Love also injured in that game, but sounds like he's going to play this weekend, which good news.
Seemed like probably just a ulnar nerve type of thing. Hit it on a helmet. He was good to go. He was cleared during that game.
Yeah, I heard he could have came back if he...
Yeah, but I guess I don't remember if they gave reasoning why he didn't come back in. I think it was just kind of
precautionary.
Yeah, not wanting to just do all the throwing him back in when he's cold and stuff like that. So,
which they almost did anyway.
And then another thing, I forgot I was going to tell you about. You have to have your emergency QB on the 53-man roster.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. so they didn't have anyone because their only other QB is in the practice squad.
I need to look into that rule more
Yeah,
because that's confusing. How is it helpful to have an emergency quarterback if he has to be on your 53?
But also it seems like the article would have addressed that unless LaFleur didn't understand the rule. But I think he was asked about that, and then he said that their other quarterback is just signed to the practice squad right now, so they wouldn't have been able to use him anyway. Because then, of course, Malik hurt his hand later. So
yeah,
I had two quarterbacks that couldn't hold on to a football.
That's not a great recipe for success.
No, as we saw. Yeah. But although, we'll get into that more. That's not even really on them. That's a Matt LaFleur thing, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yep.
But that'll do it for the news. For now, we'll see if there's any more firings or whatnot.
While we're recording
or going forward. But
yeah, because it's still early out west.
Yeah.
It's still middle of the day. Now let's get to Pigskin Prophecies, the segment where we unveil our picks for this week's NFL clashes, break down key matchups, analyze the stats, and make our bold predictions. Who will rise to the occasion and who will fall short?
Week 18 in the books.
Oh, yeah.
Final game for, 18 teams? Yes, because top 18 draft slots are set.
Yep.
First one of these teams is done, one is not. The Browns, 3-13, went to play the Ravens, who were 11-5 in the first Saturday game. Biggest spread of the week.
Yeah.
Baltimore was favored by 17.5.
And we picked them to cover.
We did, because we know what we're talking about sometimes.
Exactly. All the times.
Yeah, we both had that one right. Baltimore took care of business, clinched the AFC North. Steelers were technically still in contention going into the day, despite having...
Can't put it there.
We'll get to that.
It was more convenient to grab it from there, but it's
right in the middle of the
shot. Tall.
They clinched the AFC North and the third seed. They actually trailed Pittsburgh by 2 games with 4 games to go, so quite impressive that they ended up 2 games ahead. Impressive and sad for the Steelers.
Right.
Lost 4 in a row.
Yeah. Dang, they lost 4 in a row?
Yeah. They're on a cold streak, about to be 5 in a row.
They're entering the playoffs worse than the Packers did.
Yeah. Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers did injure his right knee in the second quarter, so we'll see. I haven't heard many updates about it, which probably means he's fine. Yeah. But regardless, I think even if he couldn't play this week, I like them against the Steelers. Side note, not sure how Zay Flowers made the Pro Bowl, but
because sometimes he looks really good.
Yeah.
But then,
but some of the guys he made it over, I was a little puzzled by, but I digress.
Rashawn Gary made the Pro Bowl, so
yeah, so obviously
as an edge rusher,
not much.
Yeah.
Although he did show up a little bit against Chicago, I saw his stupid dance move, which I assume means he had a sack.
Yeah, he did.
Jackson ends the season with 41 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. Be tough for voters to pick Josh Allen over him for MVP, I think, at this point. That's quite impressive.
With Burrow missing playoffs, he's pretty much... He shouldn't, because it's a regular season award.
Right.
But that's a glaring mark.
Well, if the award actually went to what the title is, most valuable player, you could definitely have an argument for Burrow, but in reality, we know it's best player of the season, usually best player on a good team.
On a good team, yeah.
Usually best quarterback on a good team. So, we'll see if it obviously comes down to Jackson and Allen, but that's tough to argue with those stats. First quarterback in all of NFL history with 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and less than 4 interceptions. So, also first with 4,000 passing yards and 800 rushing yards. Fourth in NFL history in passer rating, behind Rodgers twice and Manning, sorry. Back with the Colts.
Yeah.
So, all around him, very impressive season.
He was flirting with that all-time single-season passer rating, but fell off a little bit at the end. The rating, not his play. So, I mean, 117 in a game is a great game.
Yeah.
But to have that as an average over the whole season is absolutely bonkers, which to have 122.5 or whatever it was, 122 Yeah, I think it was 122.5. That's just mind-blowing that there's been seasons played that well.
You're saying that's the record?
Yeah.
122.5?
Yeah. That's what Rodgers' record was. I forget what his second one in there was and what Manning's was, but obviously all 117.5 or above because that's where Jackson ended up.
I think he ended up 119.6. Unless I wrote it down wrong. But regardless, still very impressive.
Same, but different. But same. Yeah, he.
Yeah, 119.6.
Okay, maybe when I looked at his. No, because that game was 92.8. I don't know where I saw the 117.
On a disreputable site,
probably. Since we've gotten into, I think I mentioned this before, but since we've gotten into this podcasting thing, I've noticed people just share random shit that's not real quite frequently.
Yeah.
Very irritating because
I had to unfollow a NBA fan page that was always posting like believable stuff that was like far-fetched, but like I kept falling for it. I was like, okay, I gotta get rid of this.
Yeah.
I think the last one was after the Joy Taylor. What's the word I'm looking for? Did you hear about the Joy Taylor situation? Apparently,
Joy Taylor.
She was on
Coward?
Undisputed, and she's on FS1.
Okay.
She's been on multiple shows as like the hostess. Apparently, there's a report out that she's basically slept around with like all the bigwigs and all the show hosts to work her way up. But anyway, one of the reports was the fake reports that I saw was Zion Williamson, who's known for being kind of thirsty, tweeting at her saying, "Can I be next?"
I saw that too. That wasn't real.
No, that was fake.
Dang it!
So I had to unfollow that page.
I thought it was funny
because I kept falling for that shit.
But yes, 122.5 record, and then Rodgers also number 2, 121.5, and then Peyton 121.1, then Lamar 119.6.
Obviously, it's meaningless because Nick Foles was 5th. So
yeah, I wonder if he. Now I'm
probably
curious.
In 2 games.
Yeah, like what's the qualifications?
Is that no? Did it say Eagles?
It did not. It just said Nick Foles. Let's see, where was he in 2013? I forget that he existed before. It was with the Eagles. 13 games. What year did he win? Was that like this year? 18, 17? Had to have been one of these.
Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
27 touchdowns, 2 picks in 13 games. I didn't realize Nick Foles did that one time. Good on ya.
I'm sorry, Nick Foles. I was not familiar with your game.
I mean, overall, 82 touchdowns, 47 picks.
Let's scrap the rest of the pod. Now we're going to discuss Tom Brady or Nick Foles, GOAT.
Nick Foles.
Easy. All right, well, never mind. We can get back to regular
was a quick discussion.
Programming.
Yep. All right. Let's move on. We spent a lot of time on one game.
Kind of. And rabbit trails.
Yeah, rabbit trails. Mostly rabbit trails.
Yeah.
Zion Williamson.
In the second game Saturday, another AFC North matchup, the 8-8 Bengals at the 10-6 Steelers, which was a win or go home for the Bengals. Also needed some help, which they did not get. When we made our picks, they were favored by 1.5. Looks like it moved to 2.5 before the game, but when we
definitely would have changed our pick.
Absolutely. But Cincinnati squeaked it out based on the spread that we had, winning 19-17. Like we mentioned, Pittsburgh, 4th straight loss heading into the playoffs. Not great. Wilson looking more like the Denver Russell Wilson, and seen a lot
bad timing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of tweet and social media apologies from Steelers fans to Broncos fans for the talking that they were doing when he was playing well.
Sure.
But yeah, he just kind of has gone back to taking too many sacks, making poor decisions, poor throws. Doesn't help that Pickens was out and now can't hold on to the ball.
I didn't see much of that game. I was bike seat shopping.
Well, Pickens had 1 reception for 0 yards and 3 drops, and then proceeded to talk-ish, more or less, after the game. So, yeah.
Nice.
Not much positive going on in Pittsburgh other than obviously making the playoffs.
Right.
Their rush game, very limited in that game also. So not a great recipe when neither part of your offense is hitting their stride. But their defense did hold Burrow and Cincinnati in check.
Yeah, I mean, for them to only score 19, that's kind of big.
Yeah, especially the way that they've been playing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joey Porter Jr. is kind of one of the more underrated cornerbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, he is.
I like him.
Yeah.
I liked him when he was coming into the draft, too, out of Penn State. But
how long ago was that? 2 years?
2 years, yeah. I think this was his second year. So, but yeah, like you kind of mentioned, Cincinnati was eliminated. Which, yeah.
That's got to be the first time they've had a quarterback leading in. There's been a team that has a quarterback leading in yards and touchdowns, a receiver leading in receptions, yards, touchdowns, and a defensive end leading in sacks, and they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's got to be a first. But when you start out as terrible as they did,
yeah,
I mean, they won, 5 straight to finish the season and still couldn't get in, so it tells you how terrible they started, including a loss to New England. So
did defense tighten up? I guess I didn't look at how much they were allowing at the end.
Played better towards the end of the season.
So I can't imagine the offense played much better.
Yeah, still wasn't elite. Obviously, they fired their defensive coordinator, so
right.
Not like they were world beaters or anything. But yeah, anything else on that game? Moving into the Sunday games, I had the 11-5 Commanders at the 7-9 Cowboys. Washington was favored by 4 and needed a win or a Green Bay loss to clinch the 6th seed and not have to play in Philly, which they were able to pull out a win in the last second of the game.
Yeah.
Which, it was kind of fun. All 4 of the 1 o'clock games that had playoff implications all came down to the wire. So I was watching I actually finally found a multi-view of the 4 games I wanted to watch for some reason.
It's a miracle.
Sunday Ticket needs to work on that.
Yeah.
Which 2 of them were the nationally televised games, and 2 were Sunday Ticket, which has always been the problem. So maybe they figured it out finally. But, Washington threw a touchdown pass with, I believe, 3 seconds left on the clock to McLaurin to win the game. Cowboys, well, not much to say about them.
No.
They played decent. Kind of crappy move by Jerry Jones to bench Cooper Rush. He had some incentives on the line if he would have played that game.
It was a lot of snaps. It was like 80.
Oh.
So
Might not have got there anyway,
doubt he would have got there anyway, but still.
Yeah, give
when
him
I
a chance.
saw that, I was like, you mother.
I mean, it can't be a money thing.
No, it was $500,000.
Like, you got to know about those kind of things. And not.
It's $500,000,
kind of
and other coaches in teams were like giving.
Yeah.
These. Who was it that punted from their 30, the other 35? Someone.
I didn't hear about that this year.
Just last week or this week. The punter needed one more punt inside the 20 for his incentive, and
really?
They were on their obviously field goal territory.
Yeah.
Let him punt so he could hit his incentive.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Some of those, it's like just give the guy a bonus on his next contract or something. But still, to get the incentive is cool.
It was a playoff team that already had. Like, it was already locked up. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there was quite a few incentives.
And they were already winning.
Players with incentives to meet this week. Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton, Mike Evans, obviously. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, he was trying to set a record and get $3 million in incentives. Yeah. And got that on the last offensive play of the game. Besides a kneel down,
he ended up. That was another thing. That goes back to the fake stats that were shared. Remember, I had thought that, but then I looked up and. He needed to have like most reception or so many receptions, which he was way off of.
To get the full $3 million, you mean?
Yeah, to get all that. So I think he only had like 600-some thousand on the line.
I saw a couple different reports, but then I thought I saw one from like a fairly trustworthy site when he was celebrating in the locker room that he had.
I think it was after I sent that to you. I looked it up because I wanted to see exactly what it was to share with you, and then I was looking at his actual contract details, and he needed it was either 90 or 100 receptions for some of it, which he was not even close. And then I forget all the other things, but really all that ended up being on the line was $666,000. for that game.
Only.
Well, compared to the $3.5 million that I had thought it was.
Yeah.
Very different.
Fair enough. Washington clinches the 6th seed to set up a matchup with Tampa Bay in Tampa this week. Daniels was benched or pulled for the second half, which they said it was for rest purposes, but he also wasn't playing well. So they only had 68 offensive yards in the first half. He was 6-12 passing. Maybe open the door for next offensive rookie of the year, but we'll see. Mariota came in and played pretty well, had 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, including the game winner that we mentioned. So Washington finishes on a hot note, 4-game win streak, which is kind of weird because it doesn't feel like they've been playing at their best.
No.
Not compared to their early streak.
Right.
They were very, very up and down. Very streaky
year,
this year's season, so we'll see if they can carry that into the playoffs. But, Dallas goes into the offseason with a lot of questions. See if McCarthy comes back. Dak, I'm sure, will be their quarterback next year, but will they stick with Dowdle as running back 1? What did they do at their second wide receiver position with
Definitely need
Cook's
to address both
older?
of those things.
Yeah. Parsons, there's been a lot of rumors about trades and such. Plus, did they pay him already?
Parsons?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think that was like a year or so ago.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if they actually gave him the contract or not, but
Then I think this one was absolutely meaningless game. 4-12 Jags at the 7-9 Colts. We didn't even pick this one, so guess I don't know what I'm going to talk about. The Indianapolis was favored by 5. They didn't cover. They won 26-23. I mean, there's not a ton to say. Peterson obviously fired.
yeah.
I think we'll do another episode addressing what we think teams should do going forward.
Yep.
But
yeah. Jacksonville will be picking 5th in the draft after finishing 4-13. Colts picking 14. We'll see if they stick with Richardson next season. They're kind of middle of the pack in cap space, both teams, so some room to make moves, which both of them need. Weak division, so
yeah,
if they can make the right moves, they might have a chance.
Right.
Although Texans are going to get a lot of guys back just from injuries. Plus, obviously, they're going to make moves too. So Houston will probably be the favorites going into next season, but we'll see. Probably depends on the coaching hires and moves that they make. So we'll move on to the next game. The 5-11 Saints traveled to Tampa Bay to take on the 9-5 Buccaneers. Tampa Bay favored by 13.5. We both thought they would cover. They won, but they did not cover.
No, they didn't look good for most of the game.
By 8. No, not at all.
And since we're on to that, I'll bring up Mike Evans again. I don't know what to believe because the thing I fact-checked after I told you he wasn't even close to $3 million, but Yahoo Sports says that he earned his $3 million and then also that $666,000 bonus.
Dang.
So
3.66 altogether. That's
allegedly.
That might be the biggest incentive payout I can remember.
Smith cashed $6 million.
Is this a record? Oh
no, this is this year in bonuses, and somebody's went over.
That's more than his salary should be.
Right. Reaching a career high in passing yards and completion percentage, and helping Seattle to 10 wins, and missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then Mayfield 2.5. There was a lot of big bonuses. Oh, let's see if I can find. I forgot I was looking. Okay. Yes, Sam Martin. Buffalo did it.
Former Lion and Bronco.
Just 100,000 on that one. But that punt that they punted from the opponent's 35 got him 100K.
Click on that. He got it link. I want to see if it says exactly what yard it was, or if it has a clip.
Could you imagine if he? It's just the tweet about it.
Oh, and it bumps up his salary for next year.
No, that just is his total for this year.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's 25 now.
2024 is over.
Yeah, could you imagine not getting that punt inside the 20 when you're punting from the 35? Rough.
That'd be tough to do. I think even I could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I know I could just punt it kind of at an angle out of bounds.
Yeah, but then if you shank it at all and it goes out of bounds at the 21.
Or into the end zone.
But back to the game, the Buccaneers clinched the NFC South and the third seed. We already mentioned matched up with Washington in the wild card. Evans ties Jerry Rice for most consecutive 1,000 receiving yard seasons with 11. 11 for 11 was we talked about last week.
Yeah, first to do it.
Yep.
In first 11 seasons though.
Yeah. They with 36 seconds left, they in the game in hand, they ran one more passing play, kind of I guess it wasn't really a screen, it was more like a short square in, but
apparently
went for 9 yards.
Why can't I think of his name right now? Saints coach.
Darren Rizzi?
Yeah. Apparently he had called to double cover him.
Really?
And they were lined up wrong, and he was trying to call timeout and called it too late. So he was trying to be a real douche about it.
What a douche.
Yeah.
I mean, division rival.
But
I guess.
Still, you got nothing.
Why are you messing with another man's money?
Yeah, and not even money. Like that's like legacy.
Yeah.
That you're messing with at that point.
I mean, integrity of the game, you want to defend him, but double team, come on.
Yeah. Relax. Let him have his 11th season. He had a rough go of it with a bunch of injuries this year.
Yeah.
It's amazing that he was even still able to hit it. So
yeah, it's kind of curious to think that if Godwin hadn't gotten injured, that he probably wouldn't have hit it because that's more targets taken away from him. I mean, maybe.
But also opens him up a little bit more, too.
Yeah, that's true. Could be illogical.
Sorry.
But
they never would have thrown it to him ever again.
He would have been benched for sure. No, but in my opinion, that makes him a Hall of Fame lock if he wasn't already.
Yeah.
Because Hall of Fame, I feel like one of the requirements for Hall of Fame is if you can tell the story of the NFL without mentioning your name, then you probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
I think it's a little bit looser than that.
No, I know that.
Yeah, but I like that.
So, Tampa Bay trailed for most of the game, trailed 16-6 at halftime. New Orleans, I don't know if it was more New Orleans came to play or Tampa Bay just was tight because they needed it. Or
yeah, I don't know. I was not in a very good mood and during this time slot. So
yeah, you were focused on another game.
There was one game and wasn't even focused on because I was too pissed off. So
we'll get to it in just a second. But New Orleans scored on their first 4 possessions of the game, so Tampa Bay's defense didn't show up. Probably going to be their downfall in the playoffs whenever they do bow out. Because Baker didn't have his best game, but he always seems to play his best in the biggest games. So was very good in the playoffs last season. Yeah.
He'll throw 5 touchdowns this week.
Tampa Bay, Washington in the wild card will be a rematch. Tampa Bay defeated Washington in week 1 of the season, 37-20. Obviously, Daniel's first game, so completely different teams, but interesting to think about. Now we'll move on to the game of this window. The 4-12 Bears, winless in the NFC North, traveled to Lambeau to take on the 11-5 Packers. Green Bay was favored by 9. Somehow Chicago won the game, 24-22. I shouldn't say somehow since your quarterback was out for most of the game. That didn't help, but
lost Watson and still no Jair. I don't know. The team's in fucking shambles. Even the guys who are still playing are not playing well. I don't know what's going on this year. Kenny Clark sucked this year too. But that was rough to watch. Watson, like we said earlier, first or early second quarter went down with that non-contact knee injury, and immediately when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, fuck me, this is done. He's all done." Yeah. And I was hoping for something optimistic, but as I assumed, it was his ACL. And then
not many non-contact knee injuries end up with any kind of positive news. So.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, Love on a nice throw, And his follow-through hit his elbow on a helmet, and couldn't really use his hand after that for a while. So in came Malik, and
played well for a minute.
Yeah. Something I've noticed, and this isn't trying to take away from Malik at all, the receivers play on another level when Malik's, and they make some of the craziest catches that none of them can seem to catch when, I mean, obviously they make some sweet catches, but like
step up their game,
highly contested throw to Tucker, which Tucker usually pretty sure-handed. He went up and high-pointed, made a sweet catch. Malik Heath, I know you don't know who that is.
Leading receiver of the game.
Yeah, made some
good, probably
insane,
more bad than good, because that means your other guys didn't step up.
Yeah, made some insane catches. I'm like, where's all this when Love's throwing to you? Because like the throws weren't like the one to Tucker had to be where it was, or it was going to be picked. So that was a great throw. But some of the ones to Malik, they were such crazy catches because the throw was off, but dude just went and got it. And I'm like, they don't even do this when it's thrown to their hands a lot of the time. And then there was times where Malik looked like kind of like Tennessee Malik. One time specifically,
he got hit so hard on that.
From in front of him. How do you not see the pressure coming there?
Yeah.
You're right. You're like this, and the dude's in front of you. And he got hit and wasn't expecting it somehow and fumbled. That was like pert near the red zone, too, in Chicago's red zone.
That's about as hard as you can legally hit a quarterback nowadays.
And then coaching was rough in that, especially at the end. I was so pissed off when he called that timeout immediately before the field goal, because I didn't trust the defense a ton because Chicago had started moving the ball, and Green Bay got down in scoring position, and I was like, they might pull this off, I guess. And then there was like 53 seconds left and called the timeout after the play, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Let that run down. So he could have ran it down about another 40 seconds. I forget what the play clock starts at. I feel like sometimes it seems higher than others, but could have ran it down like another 40 seconds. Probably left Chicago with somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds instead of 53 seconds. Well, probably 50 after they actually kicked the field goal. And would have been a lot harder for them to score because I think they had one timeout. So that could have won the game. Also, why are you in like Hail Mary coverage when you're trying to prevent just a field goal?
Yeah.
They had 3 dudes rushing and the rest of them basically in the fucking end zone. And I was like, oh, well, hey. Yeah, so left a whole lot of room right where the field goal target line was. And sure enough, and he hasn't been great all year, but I didn't think he was going to miss again.
Santos?
Yeah, in that situation. So, that game was irritating all around. That wasn't good anywhere. LaFleur's message all week was to play a clean game, and no one played clean. No one coached clean. So maybe listen to your friggin' self next time, idiot. Yeah, I don't have a lot of hope going forward.
Yeah, going to be a tough matchup against Philly.
Yeah, especially.
Which we'll get into that a little bit more.
Although LaFleur won a challenge.
No.
Yeah. Shouldn't have been. This was stupid. It was a pass. I think it was to Luke Musgrave. Yeah. Caught it. Was ruled a catch. Replay assist said it was incomplete, so they overturned it. And then it was like on the Jumbotron, very clearly a catch. And LaFleur's like pointing at it. He's like, do I really have to freaking use this right now? And then so threw it and then overturned, and it was a catch.
Well, there's a question I had that I never thought to look up, that if the replay assist comes in, if you could still challenge.
Oh, yes.
I assume you can. I've heard where coaches throw a challenge flag, and then they say before the flag was thrown, replay assist already overturned it. But
I was wondering when replay assist overturned it. I was like, is that challengeable? But then I very quickly after saw him arguing with the ref with it in his hand, waiting to throw it if he needed to. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe first challenge ever he's won. It sure feels like.
I wonder if you can look that up.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they keep track of that?
Probably.
It's got to be there somewhere.
Yeah. Green Bay finishes 1-5 in the division, as well as the Bears. So Packers, 5 of their 6 losses were in the NFC North. Obviously, the other loss came against Philly back in Week 1, who they will play this weekend. Chicago with the win, if you were looking for any kind of silver lining, falls to the 10th pick.
Yeah.
They would have been at 6th otherwise.
I don't know if that undoes all the annoyingness of losing to Chicago.
No. I'm curious to see where the Bears go with that pick, if they go offensive line or best player available.
Here we go. That was his first successful challenge. Yeah.
Of the season, or
no? This looks like. Oh wait, no. I was looking at the wrong side. So yeah, of the season. So he had one. He was 1-6 on the season. I want to see more. How do I see more seasons?
That's funny. I mean, not funny for you, but funny.
No, but yeah, funny, but yeah. Why does it not? Why won't it show me other? Well, only show me 2024. Either way, I'm glad it wasn't just me being annoyed and hating on him. He actually never wins challenges. That's got to be one of the worst. See all career challenges. Here we go. Is this going to show me an overall at the bottom? 43. Okay, he's won 18, 25 upheld. When did he win? Well, his first year in 19, he had 5 of them overturned.
Well, whoever is up in the booth in his ear this season, they need to replace him.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of them. 3-6 last year. 3-2 the year before. 3-4. 3-2. 5-5. Yeah, this year's definitely the worst. But either way, every time he throws his challenge flag, I'm never excited because he just always loses them.
Well, most of them you see before he throws it.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. There hasn't been many times where I've been like, that was a good challenge. But this Musgrave one, I was like,
come on.
That shouldn't have been. We shouldn't have to use a challenge on that. That's just bogus.
Yeah.
They should do that. If replay assist overturns the call on the field and then they have to use a challenge to overturn the replay assist, that shouldn't count as a challenge.
Yeah. It's kind of maddening how hard it is for them to get shit like that. This should be easy and just sensical.
Right. They got it right on the field. Why can't you get it with your slow-mo replay? Right. Why did you just overturn that?
Yeah.
But whatever.
Chicago goes into the offseason with a lot of questions. Obviously, Williams' stats were pretty good this season.
Yeah.
Hard to say if, I don't know, not completely sold yet, but
no.
Keenan Allen.
I'm sold. He should stay around.
Yeah. Keenan Allen's a free agent, so we'll see what happens with him. But, yeah, they got some.
He was good at times there.
Yeah, just getting old and chunky.
Mm-hmm. And bald.
Maybe he'll be in a chunky soup commercial. Packers will play the Eagles
Sunday evening, afternoon.
Middle game.
4:30, yeah. 25.
Moving on, unless you had something else. The 4-12 Panthers traveled to Atlanta to take on the 8-8 Falcons. Falcons
must win for the Falcons.
Yep, needed a win and a Tampa Bay loss, which both were in the cards until the end of both games. Did this one go to overtime? I think it did. I think Carolina went to overtime. Carolina.
Yeah.
I had Carolina losing but covering, so I got a tie. You had Atlanta covering.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina ended up winning 44-38 in overtime. Yeah, I guess that makes sense since they didn't kick the extra point.
Mm-hmm.
So Atlanta eliminated. with the loss, but also would have been eliminated because Tampa Bay ended up winning their game.
Panthers' future looking maybe bright.
Yeah, both teams really.
Yeah.
Penix, I thought obviously it's only his second or third start, so nothing. It wasn't perfect, but he looked his deep ball accuracy is really
nice?
Really good. It's fun to watch. Which he was the same way at Indiana and at Washington. So more so at Washington, obviously took them to the playoff. He did have an interception in the game, but it was another one that wasn't totally on him. I forget who the receiver was, but went down to catch it.
Again?
No, but whoever it was basically did the same.
Are you kidding
Went down
me?
to get it and pitched it like straight back to the defender.
It
It was not a good throw, but also receiver. I don't know.
If you get your hands on it, catch it.
You'll have to watch it. Yeah. I do like the Atlanta offensive core going forward between Penix, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, if he can get anything figured out.
Dude.
Their offensive line, they've got some good pieces there. Plus, I like Mooney as a wide receiver too. So, although he missed this game, feels like they should focus their free agency on the defensive side of the ball because it seems like they have good pieces on offense. They do have an extra pick in the third round, so can address some needs there. Carolina falls from the 6th to the 8th pick with the win. I don't know what's up with all these teams winning meaningless game and dropping draft slots, but like you said, Bryce Young looks like should be their guy going into at least next season.
Yeah.
Also a decent offensive core.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't know. I feel like they need a true wide receiver one. Leggett was a little disappointing. Thielen was very good when he played
at times.
Yeah. But Thielen's obviously getting older.
Leggett could definitely take a step forward.
Yeah.
I could see him becoming that guy.
Yep.
But also with Thielen aging, you need to address that anyways.
Yeah. And then they have like 4 decent running backs.
Chuba
Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, they drafted, didn't really play at all this season. I think he was a first-round draft pick, wasn't he? Or maybe second.
I feel like.
But he one of the top running backs taken out of Texas. Miles Sanders had a big game this week, although he's more miss than hit, I feel like.
Isn't he old now, too?
Yeah, he might be.
He was
for a running back anyway.
He was on that Philly Super Bowl team.
Yeah. Not sure if any of those guys hold trade value or any of the ones they would be interested in trading. Who was we talked about it earlier in the season that they had signed somebody to a decent extension. It was one of their other running backs. We were talking about how much money they had invested in running backs, and I don't think it was even one of those 3 I just named.
I know Chuba they did. I don't know.
Yeah, there was one before that they had re-signed.
Oh.
They also have Raheem Blackshear, but he wasn't the one that they re-signed. Yeah, anyway.
I don't remember.
Yeah, they definitely need some defensive help also. See what they do this offseason. But
speaking of teams winning meaningless games to have a worse draft pick, the Patriots. They ended up winning 23-16, and then Gerard Mayo was fired. And I don't think there's a ton more to talk about on that game.
Not too much. Buffalo rested their starters. So,
same with this next one, Giants at Eagles. Eagles still won, but rested starters. Nothing came. There was nothing of consequence from that game. So,
yeah. The New England needs. They have their quarterback. Other than that, they basically have nothing on offense.
Yeah.
So they're gonna. I think they have a decent amount of cap space this summer. So see what they can do with it. But not too much on that one. Buffalo moves on to face Denver in the wild card.
Mm-hmm. And they're probably going to give up like 69 or so sacks. I think we discussed earlier.
Pulling for it.
Yeah. And then the 9-7 Texans at 3-13 Titans.
Wait, did you already say something about Giants Eagles?
I had mentioned that.
I didn't hear
that game was
I went back
another
to
meaningless one. Yeah, and then you went back.
Sorry, I was reading probably when you said that.
Yeah, and this one I don't think. I think Texans were locked in with the 4 seed anyway.
Yeah, there's nothing riding on that game. Houston played their starters.
They still won.
Build a little momentum and had a decent first drive. Stroud was 6 for 6. Mixon looked good, although one drive.
Yeah.
Collins had the touchdown, so hopefully not hopefully because I don't care if they win, but maybe that helps them going into the playoffs. But
sure.
Yeah, Tennessee locked up the number 1 pick, like we've mentioned already. So it's about the only meaning that came out of that game.
In the 4 o'clock games, we'll probably get a bunch more Jets talk again once we get there. I keep saying we're done talking about them, but then things keep happening. But to start off, I ended up being meaningless because I was looking at the wrong one. This one was just meaningless all around. The 6-10 Niners at the 7-9 Cardinals. Arizona went off 47-24.
Yeah, Kyler Murray does really well in meaningless games.
Yeah, good job, Kyler.
4 touchdowns.
Do it when it matters. And then this one ended up going as we thought.
Real quick, I want to throw out a stat. Trey McBride, touchdown in back-to-back weeks.
Oh!
After none for the first 15 games.
Heating up for next season.
Marvin Harrison Jr. also scored, which I think it was receiving touchdowns. Marvin Harrison was like top 10 in the league this year. I was kind of surprised by that.
Probably only needed like 8 or so.
Yeah. Pearsall also had another good game, second in a row. So
I like him.
See, might be their new big weapon going into the next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, San Francisco will pick 11th, Arizona 16th.
Do you think he would have been this good if he didn't get shot?
No, I think that's what made him good.
I think so. Yeah, and then anything else on that? We had the 9-7 Seahawks at the 10-6 Rams, who were resting
Wait, I wasn't done.
starters. So Seahawks ended up winning. I don't remember. Did that move them down?
Rams?
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Curious strategy.
Yeah.
McVay said that.
Move them to the 4th.
Which, there's some logic to it. He said if we want to make a deep run like we think we can, we're going to have to play the top teams at some point. So why do we care if we play them right away or later?
I guess.
But, yeah, I mean, make a first-round exit.
So who do they?
Not great. They play Minnesota. They host Minnesota in the first round.
Duh.
Hosting a 14-win team. Not great. Not a great reward for winning your division, which is another reason that that's kind of the opposite side of the – not opposite side of the argument, but another side of the argument for seeding based on win-loss record after automatic playoff berths for division winners. But we talked about that a little bit last week.
Yeah. As we mentioned.
How about Garoppolo?
Gino hit some big incentives. Garoppolo, what'd he do?
He started in place of Stafford, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Hey, good for him.
Pretty good, yeah.
I still don't like him.
Yeah. Also had an interception, so make it feel better.
So still Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Sorry
to cut you off. Gino hit some incentives, like you said.
A bunch of them.
Blake Corum unfortunately fractured his forearm, so he's out for the postseason. Although when Kyron plays, he doesn't get a ton of touches.
Yeah.
So, but if Kyron goes down, then that's rough.
Yeah.
Seattle will draft 18th. Yeah, I think that's all I had on that one.
Yeah.
Which, moving on to the story that never ends, that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I think this was
8-8 Dolphins.
This game's the only thing with the only one with anything super significant from the 4 o'clock ones, just because we kind of knew what was going to happen with Denver.
Yeah.
But the 8-8 Dolphins at the 4-12 Jets. Miami needed to win. And they did not. Jets won 32-20. I guess first, Dolphins, Tyreek. we had mentioned it already, I believe. I don't remember if that was while we were recording or before we were recording.
Yeah,
just ditched in the third quarter and then said he was done with this, and he was out. And then the Jets.
You could tell he was trying to tread lightly and not actually say it, but eventually they asked him, "So are you saying that you're done?" And he goes, "I mean," and then as he's walking away, he goes, "Yes, I'm out."
Pulled the Antonio Brown, and then the Jets played pretty well. Offense was kind of humming, still was shit at times. Why can't Breece Hall catch?
I didn't watch any of the games. I don't know.
Just right in his hands and out. It's like all the time on little like
dump offs.
Yeah, little check downs, screens. So he's got to be, from how many I've seen, he's got to be leading the league in drops by now. Kind of makes me real mad I didn't end up trading him when everyone was so high on him. I don't know. I mean, maybe people weren't paying attention. Maybe if I put him on the trade block, I could get a whole bunch for him. Still,
he's 5th in drops. Jamar Chase was 4th, so not necessarily the best indicator. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Jerry Jeudy was top 6 in receiving yards, but that's not a shocker because Jeudy drops half the passes that come to him.
I'm really surprised there.
Yeah, Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks were 6 and 7.
I'm kidding. I'm not surprised at all. But no, if you watched the drops that Brees had, it's literally every time. Ball's not there, ball gets there. He's already looked upfield, and it like hits him in the chest, and he didn't catch it. It's rough.
He's scared.
Yeah. I don't feel like I saw him do a ton this year. I don't know. I'll give him one more year in fantasy, I guess, since I waited so long.
Unless you get a good offer.
Yeah.
Rodgers, 500th touchdown.
Yep.
Finally got that.
Ended up hitting 503.
Checked off the list. Yeah.
Had a real good game. Looked like Rodgers.
He had 4 in that game?
Yeah. Got a probably last ever Rodgers Devontae hookup. I'm glad I watched that. I'm glad I remembered that game was on because after the Packers, I told him I was not watching football the rest of the day. I was in too foul of a mood. But then I was like, oh, frick, this is very likely Rodgers' last game of his career, and even more likely that it's the last time him and Devontae play together. So had to watch it, and glad I did.
Yeah, good to see them connect.
Yeah. So that was fun. Real nostalgic. Definitely helped the mood until after the game, and then I started thinking about the Packers again, and then I was right back in it.
Yeah. Did you have anything else on that one?
Not really.
So then moving on to the 15-1 Chiefs, or at least the backups for the 15-1 Chiefs. No,
it was the starters.
At the 9-7 Broncos.
Yeah.
Only second shutout of the season. Denver was favored by 10 and won 38-0. Which, yes, obviously they're going against the backups, but they're still professionals, still getting paid.
Mm-hmm. Still being coached by one of the greatest of all time.
Yep, and there was multiple other teams with stuff to play for going against backups who didn't really show up, so it was really good to see Denver come out and just step on their throats right from the first kick all the way through the final kneel.
Immediate, so I didn't end up really watching it. I was keeping an eye at first, and I was like, oh, I see how this is going.
Yeah. So Denver secures their first playoff spot in 8 years. It's been feels like so much longer than that to me.
It feels like Peyton was an eternity ago.
Yeah. Although it helps to hold on to the fact that their last playoff game was the Super Bowl 50 victory. So, like I said, Kansas City rested their starters. Knicks, 26 of 29 for 321 yards, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions.
It's not very good.
Also 47 rushing yards,
it's not very
which
good.
Led the team. More on that later because I have a feeling that's going to be their downfall. Although going against Buffalo is probably more of your downfall.
No, actually, it's the Buffalo Bills that is the downfall.
Yeah. Marvin Mims continues his hot streak. 2 touchdowns again for the second week in a row.
That was
on my fantasy bench both weeks.
First one I flipped to that game, and then he had just scored, and they were 14-0 or something. I was like, this is going exactly as it should.
Sutton earned one of those incentives that we talked about. Earned $500,000 for hitting 1,065 yards.
I think I saw his touchdown too.
Where they got that number from?
Yeah, I wonder what that average over 17 games is.
That's what I was wondering too.
But I mean, at the very least, No, it's a random.
Oh, yep, 62.647.
That's the benchmark for good, consistent wide receiver
that's
play.
That's the standard.
But no, if anything, a lot of optimism going forward because Benito's young, isn't he? He's like 24 or something, I feel like. And
so is Jonathan Cooper. Zach Allen's not super young, but not old either.
He's still 20s. Bo Nix, I mean, he's getting a little bit up there now, but
yeah, honestly,
he came into the league at 48.
He's
him and Brock Bowers. Well, Brock Bowers is actually super young. He just looks old as shit.
Yeah, he's like 60.
But
I need to correct myself. I said the Broncos had 69 sacks, and they were 15 to 20 sacks more than the next best. I exaggerated. 63 sacks, which was 9 more than the second most.
69 is more fun.
Yeah, it is.
But
that's on next week's episode.
Yeah, no. Regardless, we might get another Denver Packer Super Bowl
this year
in the near future. Oh.
7 seed versus 7 seed.
Oh yeah, we had talked about that.
And they're going to tie 0-0.
But they were the only 2 teams with shutouts this year.
Yeah.
That wasn't what I was referring to now. I was just thinking both of them
we shut out the defending champs. You just shut out the Saints.
But no, both have very bright futures. Both have, I mean, Packers are still youngest team in the league. Broncos have really key positions that are quite young.
Yep.
So we might get another one of those Super Bowls in the future. Hopefully,
I think we should just probably have our teams take turns instead of have our teams play in the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they could just take turns winning the Super Bowl. So this time Packers win it, and then because last time they met up in the Super Bowl,
and the Broncos were the most recent win period. So, I wonder if they've alternate. No, because Denver went back to back. That was almost a really stupid statement. The question.
Wait.
98, 99.
Oh yeah.
Packers and then Falcons.
Yeah, and then it would have been Packers, Denver. So then it'll be Denver next, and then Packers.
Favre won one after.
Yeah. I think wasn't his. When did he win it? He might have won his in like 97, actually.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, so it was right before.
Because they were trying to go back to back against Denver, and then Denver went back to back.
Weird, wild stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways,
another rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Kind of. All football.
Kind of.
And we're hooked on football.
We are hooked on football. That's kind of it for that one. Do you have anything else for that one?
No, just that Kansas City will face lowest remaining seed in the divisional round. So if Denver can somehow pull off the upset, then
they're going to have to go
rematch in the divisional round.
Bills, Chiefs.
Probably Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, then Eagles or Lions or I don't know. If Broncos can win a Super Bowl, that's an all-time run.
Yeah.
Which
Bo Nix GOAT if that happens. Yeah. Best ever.
No rookie has ever started.
He should retire after this year if he does that.
Yeah. No rookie has ever started in the Super Bowl, so
no.
Probably far-fetched, but hey, someone's got to do it first.
Got to happen at some point.
Yeah, nothing else on that one. Move on to the 10-6 Chargers at the 4-12 Raiders. Chargers favored by 5.5. Ended up winning 34-20 to clinch the 5 seed between their win and the Pittsburgh loss. So now they will travel to Houston, and they're actually, I believe, the only road favorite of the weekend.
As they should be.
So the Chiefs, Lions, and Chargers all get a first-round bye. No, but Justin Herbert playing very well. 346 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, Quentin Johnson decided to show up. Had 186 yards in this game.
Hopefully for them, he can keep doing that.
Yeah.
If he can do that, and they got Ladd going, that'll be
dangerous.
Yeah, as long as Dobbins can stay healthy and play.
He got a little nicked up in this one, but looked like he was all right. McConkey finishes a solid rookie regular season, finished third among rookie wide receivers in yards and fourth in touchdowns, so bright spot for them going forward.
Yeah.
Raiders will pick 6th in the draft. We'll see. last year they just missed out on, I don't know if they were interested or not, but they missed out on Nix by 1 pick, who was the 6th quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
So we'll see if their quarterback is available at pick 6 this year in a little bit of a weaker quarterback draft. Although a lot of things changed between the end of the season and Combine, because I don't think anybody at the end of the last regular season would have thought that 6 quarterbacks were going in the top 12.
Yeah.
So even going into the draft, I didn't see that happening. So,
No.
And I know all. So
That's right.
Bowers set the rookie record for tight end.
Yep.
With for receptions and receiving yards.
Yeah. How many receptions did he end up with?
I think it was like 104.
Yeah. Over 100. That's a ton for a tight end in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude's a stud.
112 for 1194.
I was gonna say I thought it was over 110.
And 5 touchdowns.
I thought he had more touchdowns, but either way, it's too bad that he's already 45.
Yeah.
But no, that's I guess their one bright spot on that offense.
Yep.
And Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't play. I added him in fantasy. I needed to win, and he didn't play.
Well, no wonder they couldn't beat the Chargers.
Yeah. When you rest the best running back in football, it's tough.
Yeah. Shouldn't have done it.
Final game of the week. The game of the week.
Yeah.
First matchup of 2 14-win teams in NFL history, at least in regular season. Detroit was favored by 2.5. You had Detroit winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was ye of little faith. Thought Minnesota was going to win. Detroit dominated, basically.
Yeah.
Although first half was close.
Jameer dominated.
Goff kind of kept the Vikings in the game a little bit with a couple poor throws, a couple turnovers. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, Jameer, 4 touchdowns, 170 all-purpose yards. We'll get into that in just a second, but real shocking performance by the Detroit defense. At least you called Anzalone coming back, making a big difference, which first of all, his coverage ability on Hawkinson, and then
he had him shut down.
Yeah, and then his leadership and tackling ability just all around was huge for their defense.
Dude, something about dudes playing with clubs on their arms, they're better.
Yeah.
I still remember Nick Perry back in the day.
Unlimited confidence. Uh-huh. But one of the other big stories of the game was Amik Robertson matched up on Justin Jefferson. Robertson's been playing nickel corner for them most of the season with Carlton Davis out. Also him and Jefferson have some history. So Robertson, I guess, leading into the game, asked to cover Jefferson.
I guess it worked out. I feel like most coaches would have been like, okay, buddy.
Yeah. No, but he played very physical. Maybe towed the line a little bit, but
I think
in those kind of games,
I think a lot of them did, but they let it go.
Yeah.
Pantaloons was,
Pantaloons. People are gonna be like, wait, what?
Like 100th of a second away from being early enough to be flagged on a lot of coverage, but good on him. He found the limit and then stayed right there the whole time.
Also, I don't feel bad because I saw this stat this week. The Detroit Lions got, I should make you guess, how many defensive pass interference calls did the Lions benefit from this season?
Oh, not many.
1.
Yeah.
All season. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying I saw a bunch that were like miscalled, but there's got to have been more than one, and that's crazy.
I didn't. I same, but also
it's just Ben Johnson schemes guys so open that they can't even.
That's what I was saying, because like J-Mo's always wide open.
Yeah.
Occasionally there's contested catches on Amon-Ra, but no. And then I know they had a bunch against them, but that's because Terry and Arnold had about 65 that were definitely,
especially early in the season.
Yeah, early in the season. But no, they there's a lot of smart play by Anzalone. He found that limit and then towed that line the whole game.
Yeah, might as well push it until they call you for it and then start to back off.
Right. Every pass defense by him looked the same. He got there just before and then got around him and swatted it, but
I forget which plays they were, but there was two where I said to my wife and daughter that should have been called on the Lions, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
No, and like I said, there was a lot of that game just in general. So I mean, he did a great job finding where the limit was for that game, and he stayed right there, which smarter than playing completely clean, because if you can get away with a little bit, do it.
Yep. I thought the game plan was genius. I think a lot of teams are afraid to blitz Minnesota a lot because they have really good weapons that get open if you bring too many guys, but kind of threw them off, I think, with how much pressure they brought, and clearly flustered Darnold, who looked like the moment was too big for him.
It seems like most teams would have been like, hey, that's Sam Darnold. He can't get the best of us. Let's just bring pressure.
Yeah.
But everyone's all like, oh, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He's so good. No, he's not.
Like I kind of mentioned, Goff also didn't look great in the first half, but battled back. And then one question I wanted to throw out there, or I guess not really a question, more my thoughts. I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs has an argument for best running back in football when you consider his contract. Obviously, because he's still a rookie.
Yeah, I mean,
Henry and Barkley,
if we're going
making a ton of money
per dollar amount, absolutely.
Yeah, led the league in all-purpose touchdowns. Actually, I believe set a Lions record for all-purpose touchdowns in this game with 20 on the season.
Really, that's the record?
I think so. Just all-purpose. I forget what Jamal Williams broke Barry Sanders' record.
Did he break it?
Rushing,
I thought he was okay. He did,
which I liked at the moment. Now I kind of hate it because obviously not a Lions legend.
Yeah. Well, he is now.
Yeah, but among the elite running backs that you would consider for best running back in football, he was third in yards per carry and all-purpose yards. When you factor that in with the contract, I mean. First in yards per touch and second in touchdowns per touch, behind James Cook, who we talked about before the pod. That was kind of surprising to me, but
he's still
James Cook
on a rookie deal too.
Yep.
I mean, he hasn't. I guess I don't remember. He probably doesn't have the yards and stuff that Jahmyr. Maybe he does. He was their main guy
this season.
Yeah.
He was a little behind, but not by a ton. But he also started slower in his career than Gibbs did.
Well, the only question mark would have been if Gibbs can handle the
a full season bell cow workload.
Well, that, and then also, like, was he just benefiting from being the change of pace from Demo? But the last 2-3 games that he was the main guy, he seemed to handle that just fine.
Yeah, before these last couple games, since Montgomery got injured in games that Gibbs started and Montgomery was out, he was averaging like 167 yards per game, which he had 170 in this one. I'm not sure how many he had last week, but yeah. Remains to be seen if he can handle a full season, which neither one is a free agent until 2028, so we probably won't.
Which, how much they used him, neither of them were far off from that workload.
Yep.
I'd be curious how many touches did he have?
Gibbs?
Yeah.
I can tell you right now. He had 302 touches. 250 carries, 52 receptions.
That's essentially a full.
Yeah, because Barkley had 378, most in the league. Henry had 344. Gibbs had 302.
Yeah, so, I mean, essentially.
Gibbs used quite a bit more in the pass game than either of those other two. Barkley.
Yeah, Henry, which I guess
that helps even it out.
Is slightly less taxing being in the pass game.
Until you get laid out like he did in this game. Goff threw a screen pass with the defender.
Yeah, that was rough. Right when he threw it, I was like, why?
I was so nervous when he got hit because if he goes down, we're in trouble. Although Montgomery back for the divisional round. So, I was obviously very pleasantly surprised with the Lions' performance. Shouldn't be surprised because they've been finding ways to win all this season and most of last season, other than against San Francisco, obviously. So, yeah, we'll see. A lot of my hope is restored. We'll see. It's gonna be a tough road, but a lot easier with everybody having to come into Detroit. So
yeah, yep, that helps.
But as far as picks go for the week, unless you had something else on that game, you went 6-3-1 on the week to finish 105, 55, and 43, 62.32 winning percentage, or correct pick percentage, if you will. I was 5-3-2 on the week, 112, 41, and 50 overall, 67.49% on the season. So not too bad.
No,
especially when you're going against a spread.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to know. I'll have to go back and look how we did, just straight up. But that'll do it for the Week 18 recap. Want to get into our wild card preview?
Yeah. So we got super wild card weekend coming up. Got Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday game. I didn't remember them doing a Monday game.
I didn't either. When they showed that it was Vikings Rams, I was really glad the Lions got the bye because I did not want to stay up Monday night and be exhausted Tuesday.
Well, that, and also you don't want your team to have the short week.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
But yeah, we start off Saturday. We got the Chargers going to Houston. Chargers are favored by 3. They. I guess I don't know. I just don't trust Texans much. But also, Chargers are kind of bums at times. But they've been a
little up and down.
Yeah. I think I like that matchup for Chargers though.
Yep.
I don't think they've got a playoff win for a long time either.
Who's that?
The Chargers.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure when their last playoff win. This is their first playoff game since they blew a 27-0 lead to Jacksonville 2 years ago. Had a 27-0 first half lead. Jacksonville won on a 36-yard field goal as time expired. So Herbert has yet to win a playoff game. 0-1. Another stat, Jim Harbaugh leads the Chargers to the playoffs in his first season as head coach, which makes him the first head coach in Super Bowl era to lead 2 NFL teams to the playoffs in his first season as head coach 1 year after the team had a losing record.
Wow.
Did it with San Francisco back in 2011 and then again this year.
Impressive, yeah.
Stroud is 1-1 in playoff games. Got his first win last season against Cleveland in the wild card before getting dominated by Baltimore in the divisional round. But, two teams kind of headed in opposite directions. Texans, obviously, injuries kind of derailed their season a little bit. So, I have Chargers winning and advancing to play.
They'd be going on.
Probably the Chiefs unless there's another upset.
Yeah.
But
I
feel like
them covering.
That'd be a good game. So
yeah. Yep. Herbert gets his first playoff win, and good for him. I like him.
Yeah, me too. And then moving into the 8:00 game Saturday night. First game was at 4:30. I don't know if we mentioned that or not.
No, this one's
the 6 seed Steelers
on prime
at 10-7. Oh, is it?
Yeah. Annoying.
Yeah. At the 3 seed Ravens, who are 12-5. Like we mentioned, Steelers had a 2-game lead, 4 games left, and lost 4 in a row. Ravens won 4 in a row. So another game with 2 teams headed in opposite directions, which is evidenced by the spread. Baltimore favored by 10.
It was 9.5 when I looked.
Yeah, it changed today. This is the 4th matchup all time between these two AFC North foes. Pittsburgh is 3-1 in the series. Baltimore won the most recent one. I did not realize this. T.J. Watt has never won a playoff game.
Really?
Mike Tomlin hasn't not won a playoff game since 2016.
With old Benny Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Which I don't know if that's the 2016 season or the 2016 play date.
Okay.
If it's play date, that would be when they lost to the Broncos on the Broncos' path to the Super Bowl. But it could have been the year after. Steelers defense rushing defense ranks 7th in rushing yards allowed, so
good match.
That's going to be their hope for the game. If they can limit Jackson and Henry in the rush game, they have a chance. But also, Jackson likes to throw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions just all the time. So
yeah,
and the last matchup between the Ravens and the Steelers this season, Henry, or maybe it was the first one, but in one of them, Henry rushed for like 170 yards or something like that. So
yeah.
Obviously, that was one of their few down games since they were 7th in the league, but tough to stop Henry and Jackson. Maybe the greatest rushing duo of all time.
Yeah. Well, this one, I do think that Pittsburgh covers and Baltimore wins.
Okay.
I think they step up a little bit and can cover that 10-point spread, but they're definitely not winning that game.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin, so I was really tempted to pick Pittsburgh to cover. I just think Pittsburgh's playing terrible right now, so I did pick Baltimore to cover, but I think it's going to be close to that line. But should be a good one. Divisional matchup in the playoffs, always fun. So, unless it's your team in it, then it's not so fun.
Right.
Which takes us to Sunday.
Yeah.
1:00.
Your team?
Yeah.
The 10-7 Broncos.
First time been able to say that in too long. 7-seed Broncos, 10-7 at the 2-seed Bills.
Yep, going to Buffalo, and Buffalo's favored by 8.5. I guess not a super surprising spread. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just me being hopeful, but I could see it going either way. I know Buffalo's had way more ups than downs this year, but Denver's defense is good. So if there's a defense left in the playoffs, I feel pretty good about them being the one to slow down Cook and Josh Allen. So, yeah, I don't know. Whole lot to say. I don't have a ton of faith, but I could see it.
Yeah. Like I said, this is Broncos' first playoff game since Super Bowl 50, January of 2016. I feel like the Broncos defense is going to have to be at their best. Not only are they going to have to pressure Allen, but they're going to have to contain him in the pocket because we know how he likes to escape. Then when he's throwing from outside the pocket or running, he's
Can you think of a
dangerous.
Better current duo to do that, though?
No. So I agree with you. I think there is a chance if the defense plays lights out game and Nick's, if it doesn't look like the moment's too big for him in his rookie season, I don't think it will be going forward, but you never know in his first playoff start.
A lot of that's where a decent amount of my apprehension comes from is the inexperience.
Yeah,
I just don't trust rookies a ton
in their
season.
Big games this season. Other than this Chiefs one, he has started off very well, and then kind of tailed off in the second half. So I kind of see that happening again. I think it's probably going to be close to the first half, and Buffalo pulls away late. I have Buffalo covering the spread. I think it might be like a 3 to 6 point game at some point in the fourth quarter, and Buffalo gets a late touchdown to win it.
To seal it, yeah. Yeah, I too had Buffalo covering. Yeah, they're too good right now.
I don't remember if I mentioned this while we were recording or not, but Broncos have a chance to make one of the greatest Super Bowl runs of all time if they could somehow do it. Buffalo, then they would have to face the Chiefs because they're the lowest seed, and then would probably play the Ravens.
Unless the Chiefs lose this week.
NFC champs next week?
This week, we're sitting at home.
That would be nice. Maybe they'll have to forfeit.
Because
of... Never mind, that's too dark. That's too
dangerous.
I hate myself.
No, we hate dangerous.
Yes.
Mr. Unlimited.
So do Steelers fans. Welcome to the club.
Such a bum.
So let's move on to your team.
Yeah. The Packers.
And the other 7-2 matchup.
Yep. At the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. Philly's favored by 4.5. Jordan Love has been cleared to play this game. Obviously, no Watson, no Jair. I didn't end up looking at any of the articles, but from the titles, I'm pretty sure Quay will be good to go this week. So, yeah, there's I guess the real big key matchup here is Edgerrin Cooper and Saquon. If Edgerrin can keep Saquon in check, maybe. That's a long shot.
I was a little surprised by the spread in this one.
I was too.
Books are giving Packers some respect, which obviously they had a good showing in last year's playoffs, so that's probably part of it.
Yeah, could be.
Because Packers weren't playing like super well going into the playoffs last year, were they?
They heated up at the end.
Did they?
Yeah. But
who was it that they upset? Cowboys in the first round?
Cowboys, they stomped them
in
Jerry World. Packers in Jerry World is so nice.
Yeah.
If we could play this at Jerry World, I would maybe have a little more hope. But no, with Watson done, without that over-the-top threat, it seems none of these receivers can do anything. I mean, they still got Jacobs, but I don't know.
You seem very helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad that's coming across. And frankly, I don't trust LaFleur a ton. So
yeah, in their big games, they haven't seemed to be ready for quite a few of them this season, at least.
Nope.
No interesting stat. Impressive stat. No Jalen Hurts led team has ever missed the playoffs in college or the NFL.
Oh, nice.
And that includes 2 college teams, Alabama and Oklahoma, and then obviously since he's been with the Eagles, so obviously been put in good situations. That helped.
Sure,
but
yeah,
still impressive.
It's not like Alabama or Oklahoma are so bad.
Yeah,
but
I was honestly tempted to pick an upset in this game, in part because I knew you wouldn't. But also the way that the Packers played in last year's playoffs, plus I feel like all season long I've been kind of like battling with where I've put the Packers in my power rankings, feeling like they're a better team than they've shown in some of their big games. But then I came back to the fact that I would pick the Eagles to win the game on a neutral field if both teams were healthy. So with no Christian Watson and potentially banged up Love, plus a healthy Eagles team, I think the Eagles cover in advance.
Yeah, I think I also have Philly covering. I think with a healthy team, it'd be a lot closer. I would feel pretty decent about it, but no Jair and no Watson. Their best defensive player and their best receiver, I guess. I don't feel great about it.
Does he? Did he played in week 1, right?
Yeah, I think
Jair,
so.
Did he?
Week 1
does
was.
He shadow AJ or?
I don't remember. They do, and it doesn't matter because sometimes they do that and sometimes they don't. So they're not consistent on that like they should be. They should always shadow. That's when it works best. But
the only time I can argue not is if you have 2 really good receivers. One's not that much better than the other. Sometimes it makes sense to put your top guy on the number 2 guy, and then on the number 1 guy you put your second best corner with safety help or roll help over that way. But yeah, most of the time if you have a shutdown corner,
just
shut down their best
shut down
offensive weapon.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on that one?
Nah.
Then we have the final Sunday game, triple header. The 6 seed Commanders, who finished the season 12-5, at the 3 seed Buccaneers, who finished the season 10-7. Tampa Bay favored by 3 in this one, despite having the lower record.
This one was the toughest one for me to pick.
These last 2 were the toughest 2 for me. That was my first note right here.
That was the toughest?
Last 2 toughest to choose.
Oh, nice.
Which is probably why they made them the last 2.
Probably. But I think especially since this last week, Baker had a little bit of a down week. He'll probably bounce back this week. He tends to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Evans is coming off his record and feeling good. And then also the rookie in the playoffs thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget how Commanders' pass defense has been. I know they got Lattimore and stuff in the season, but I don't remember him making a huge impact.
Their passing defense is pretty good.
Is it? Okay.
It has been, as far as yards go, because they were middle of the pack overall, and I have in my notes that their rushing defense is 29th in the NFL, so their pass defense had to have been decent.
Bucky going to go off?
Yep, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, I think Baker
Speaking of Bucky,
steps up on the big stage.
Don't score on that play.
Oh, to give
Yeah.
Evans a shot. Yeah.
He went down the play a couple plays before that.
Yeah.
But then he forgot or
maybe
just
they
didn't
told him,
care
hey,
anymore.
we need to win this game more than we need to break a record. But
maybe. But when he scored, I was like, no.
Yeah. I don't think Tampa Bay's defense is good enough to contend, but I think they're good enough to win this game.
Yeah.
Like you said, Irving, I think, has a big game. I really like him. Really wish the Broncos had drafted him like he thought they were going to.
Mm-hmm.
Irving mentioned that he thought he was going to end up in Denver with Bo. But yeah, I think that really opens up the offense for Baker to thrive. Excited to see Evans versus Lattimore again.
Yeah.
Because they do not like each other and have played many times when Lattimore was with the Saints. So that should be a fun matchup. But I have Tampa Bay winning and covering.
Same.
I hope this one's a good game because I don't have too big of a rooting interest. But I do like Baker and think he plays well in big spots. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I like him. It's going to be a fun one to watch. But who knows if I'll even frickin' watch it. Because it's on right after a game that's going to piss me off. Although I'm not going into it with expectations, so maybe I can.
Yeah, but we have a football podcast, so you have to watch playoff games.
Fine.
Hey, you're supposed to be hooked on football.
I am. That's why I sometimes I can't fucking watch it.
Move on from it, yeah. So we'll move on to the last game of the week. Monday night, 5-seed Vikings, 14-3, 5-seed Wild, at the 4-seed Rams. I did not write their record in, but I believe they're 10-7.
Yep. Minnesota only favored by 1.5.
Yes. So Minnesota's only losses this season are to Detroit and the Rams.
Oh, really?
2 losses to the Lions, 1 loss so far to the Rams, and I think that evens up, as in 2 losses to the Lions, 2 losses to the Rams.
Oh.
Got the Rams with the upset, according to the line, not by the seeding. But, yeah, obviously Stafford, McVay, Cup. Puka have a playoff win? Was he a rookie last season?
Yeah.
So no playoff win.
No.
But still,
at
least has experience.
Yeah,
I believe it was because, yeah, he set the record.
Set the rookie. Yep.
So, yeah, I've got the Rams with the upset. I think McVay and O'Connell obviously know each other well.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like McVay just a little bit better.
I think probably just because been around a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Has a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I think it's close, but
the Rams haven't done anything to make me trust them yet this year, and
except for beat the Vikings.
They sure. So yeah, no, I unfortunately have Minnesota covering this one.
You haven't covering that spread. Yeah. It's a big one.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's our first difference of opinion. So your chance to get
except for me thinking Pittsburgh will cover.
Oh yeah, fine. I can't read. Words is hard.
But yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong.
I'm not sure what I hope because I don't think, obviously the way I picked, I don't think either of the other games is an upset. So this is going to decide who plays the Lions next week. beating a team 3 times is tough, but also
sure.
Stafford and the Rams are going to be very motivated to come into Detroit and avenge their loss from last season.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there's been a lot of talk between the.
A lot of drama.
I shouldn't say a lot, but some talk between the two teams. Kirby Joseph shared on his Instagram story F Matthew Stafford post.
Yeah.
Which, real quick, I saw a bunch of people saying, like, complaining about it because Stafford did so much for Detroit. Kirby Joseph doesn't care about that. He wasn't there with Stafford. He
but also,
wasn't a
like,
Lions fan before that.
Why?
So. Because of Stafford calling Kirby Joseph out for calling him dirty during that game when he tackled Higbee low and tore his ACL. He got up in his face and said, "You're a dirty player, and I've seen it," and all this kind of stuff. So that's why Kirby doesn't like him. But
I don't know. Either way, it just felt gross. I mean, if you want to say stuff to Stafford, do that. That's just like real classy.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get people to not think that you're scum, not a great way to plead your case.
Yeah, no, I would hope that wasn't his goal. Because, I agree with that sentiment. But I think he just genuinely doesn't like him.
Maybe. I don't like him since he got his veneers.
I was saying maybe he just hates him because of his teeth, like we do, or his annoying wife.
This is just to everybody in the world, everybody that's out there. Don't give veneers. You look stupid.
If you do, stain them a little bit.
Yeah. You look. I haven't seen anyone that I think looks good with them. Every time I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
So don't do that. And then me and Kirby Joseph won't hate you. Just kidding. I don't really hate Stafford. I just hate his teeth. I hate when he smiles or looks at me or talks or does anything that
when he looks at you.
Yeah, anything that involves me seeing his teeth. I don't like it.
I don't like the way those guys are looking at you.
So yeah, Minnesota
Gophers. Hey, can't you see this woman's a nun? If you needed me to clarify what I was quoting,
I didn't.
I figured
they probably do, but we're never gonna tell them. It was Nacho Libre. Now it's time to dive into the Hooked Hierarchy, the part of the pod where we unveil our top 10 NFL squads, ranking teams based on performances, stats, and maybe a little bias. Who's rising to the top and who's slipping down the ranks. Get ready for some heated debates and some surprising picks as we break down the best of the best. A little bit of I had to do some
shifting,
some sad things. So I guess we'll just start with the sad things.
Oh, no, you dropped the Chiefs out?
Yeah. I mean, they got blown out by the Broncos.
Yeah, it's only
who
fair.
Aren't even on my top 10, so how would they how can they be there?
Yeah.
So I'll start off with my number 10. I dropped the Packers down to your number 10. Last 2 weeks looked rough. Granted, injuries, pretty key injury during that game, but they haven't given me a ton of confidence going forward. So, yeah, I don't know. They're at 10 now, and then next week they won't be on anything because they'll be in Green Bay.
At number 10, first I'll start with that. I dropped the Packers out of my top 10, in part only because I wanted to get the Broncos in there. So I have the Broncos at 10. Obviously, we already talked about they were going against backups, but they did what they needed to do and did it in impressive fashion. So I was very pleased with that. And then at number 9, I have the Buccaneers. Like we said, didn't play their best game, but yeah, I don't know. Don't have too much more to say about them.
Yeah. But. No, my number 9, I got the Commanders up there. I don't know. Again, like I say, some of these, I've got like the tiers, and then I don't know how to order
groups.
them. Yeah. But Washington, they finished pretty strong. I mean, barely squeaked that one out against Dallas, but they'll be with it being rookie QB, coach first year, they're going to be flying in with a lot of confidence into the playoffs, and might help them, but probably not. Yeah, and then at number 8, I got the Buccaneers. I mean, I've talked plenty about how much I like Baker, and
you do
really just that whole team. Yeah, I'm sort of fond of him. I have generally good feelings about him. But yeah, other than that, not a ton to say there.
At number 8, I had the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they're playing maybe their best football of the season. Heading into their matchup with the Texans, who I do not have in my top 10.
I wonder if I should have factored in what their matchups were going to be. I wonder if I should have changed my definition of power rankings heading into the postseason.
I didn't focus on that too much either. But I think the Chargers are playing well. Johnston, if he can keep anything remotely like what he did this Sunday, then they're going to be real dangerous out. I really hope he keeps it up for at least 2 weeks.
So if that offense can stay hot, we know that they've got they had the best defense in the league this year as far as points allowed. Weird how that works. Best defenses are all in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I saw like a top 6 or whatever.
Most of the top running backs are too.
Yeah. Yep. And they're all playoff teams. So weird how that works.
Yeah, weird how the running back has lost a lot of its value, but then most of the top rushing teams are in the playoffs and near the top of the playoffs.
Best quarterback and receiver in the league this year missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
But not the best running backs or defense. Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody should look at
Bijan Robinson was the one top running back that, as far as stats go, that didn't make the playoffs, but they missed it by a game. So,
and
plus they should have started Penix sooner.
Yeah.
So, obviously, hindsight 2020, and who knows what he would have done, but looked better than Cousins.
Who was like 0 touchdowns and 8 picks over a stretch there for.
It's pretty good though.
Yeah, it's true.
And at number 7, I had the Rams. I'm not sure what happened to Cooper Kupp, but Puka Nacua is a stud.
Yeah, he is.
Kyron Williams.
Tre'Davious.
Like him a lot. Young defensive pieces playing well. So, had them at number 7.
I do not have them in mind because, like I said, I for some reason don't trust. I just don't. I didn't even feel like they were going to be in the playoffs, and they ended up getting in there. And I don't know. My number 7, I got the Chargers. Like I just said, if that defense or that offense stays hot like they have been the last couple of weeks, they'll be dangerous with a high flying offense and then that best defense.
Mm-hmm.
My number 6, I got the Minnesota Vikings.
I have a feeling we have the same, maybe not order, but same top 6 teams. Seems pretty clear.
We might have the same order too. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to see what I think you would change, but Vikings obviously playing well. Didn't really show up to that Lions game, but yeah.
I also had the Vikings at number 6. Hard to take too much away from a 14-3 team. Maybe it just wasn't their night, but obviously had to drop them down after that performance, especially when going against a obviously banged up defense. Would have thought they could do more than score only 3 field goals. So
still arguably the best team in the league, though. So
yeah. I had them at my number 6, and then at number 5 I had the Baltimore Ravens.
Knew it.
These next 3 at least are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So had the Ravens at 5. Now that I think about it, I'd be tempted to put them above the Eagles. But had the Ravens at 5.
obviously, I too had the Ravens at 5, and had, no, I guess not a ton to say there. Had the Eagles up at 4. I don't know why I give them the edge. Probably just defense. Feels like more of a fully rounded team.
Mm-hmm.
Even, I mean, Ravens defense has been good lately too, so I guess I could see swapping that around. But also, when I was making this list, I had no idea what order I wanted to put these guys in. So, but yeah, Eagles at 4.
Now that I think about it, part of it to me is also that the Ravens have more to contend with in the top of the AFC. I feel like the NFC is kind of a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
As far as real contenders, so. Did you go number 4 already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah. Also had the Eagles at number 4. So now I'm pretty confident we have the same order. Yeah. I think I like Barkley just a little bit better than Henry. Defense a little better than the Ravens, and like I said, seems like a 2-horse race in the NFC now. So had them at 4.
Like Lamar better, but he's got a history in the playoffs.
Yeah. Plus Eagles receivers a lot better than the Ravens in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I take Brown over Flowers by a little margin, and then Smith over Bateman by quite a margin.
There's a margin there.
Also, I forgot to mention earlier that Dallas Goedert came back from his 4 games missed streak.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. So, just another weapon to add to their team.
Mm-hmm.
Then at number 3 had the Bills.
Bills.
Hoping I can knock them down after this week, but
after this week we're going to have 8 teams to rank.
Yep.
Yeah, I also have Bills at 3. If that defense stays good, they're going to be tough. They might be favorite in the AFC if they keep things tightened up, but we'll see.
It really bums me out that their defense is so weak because you need someone to upset the Chiefs.
And then at number 2, got the Lions. Wanted to move them higher, but it felt like basically just felt like a bye week for the Chiefs. So I didn't think I could move them down based off of that. Although maybe can move them down because no depth.
Yeah.
And they only rested like 8 or 10 starters. So
yeah,
there was a couple of those. That's going to be rough. But also it's the Chiefs, so none of them will get hurt.
No.
They're all invincible.
Do you have your rankings from last week? Do you remember where you had the Lions? Because I think I dropped them further than you did.
4.
Yeah, I think I dropped them further than you did. But like I said, my hope is restored quite a bit after watching that performance. I'm trying not to get too high hopes. But I thought Anzalotti made a huge difference, like we mentioned. Tell me how you really feel. Speak, oh great toothless one.
I mean, I think this is the season to get high hopes on them. I don't know that they have another season like this, especially if Johnson and Glenn end up taking coaching jobs other places.
Yeah, I'm obviously not looking forward to that, but I'm curious to see how much that affects them or not.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any big free agents, and they have the 4th most cap space next season. Right now.
Do they?
Yeah. So, in theory, they should be as good or better as far as the players on the field next year. So, yeah, we'll see if the coordinators leave what that does. But, got the Lions at 2. I think it's going to come down to Eagles at Lions in week 2, and I love that they have home field advantage. Going to Philly was going to be tough, or Minnesota. So, got Lions at 2. Chiefs.
At 1.
Stinking Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
At number 1, which,
like we said last week, they're kind of peaking at the right time, and
hopefully it's kind of like a jinx deal as far as like picking teams to win that I want to lose.
Yeah.
But I've kept them at number 1 for quite a while. Hopefully that means they...
Everyone's had them at number 1 all the years, and they don't frickin'...
Yeah. Hey, we mention Mahomes didn't make the Pro Bowl, so at least there's some...
I forgot about that.
Redeeming quality to the Pro Bowl rosters, because he was not a top 3 AFC quarterback this year.
No. Nope. He was...
Although, when you got Allen, Jackson, and Burrow, that's
just
that's a high bar, but
just barely top 3 in his division.
Yeah. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell.
Number 1. There. Yeah.
I can't think of another guy that the Raiders started. Yeah,
number 2.
Yeah, and then Mahomes kind of just behind, a little bit behind.
No, obviously Nixon and Herbert. Herbert Nixon. I kind of like how both of them played more than Patrick this year. So, but that's neither here nor there. Yes, thinking Chiefs at number 1, but
it's here and there if the Broncos win this weekend.
That's true.
Or if the Broncos lose and the Chargers win.
That is also here and there. But
speaking of here and there, subscribe here or there, and comment here or there.
It's over here. It's over here.
We'll get it someday.
We didn't. I didn't mess it up this time.
No, I'm the one that messed it up.
Well, yeah, but then you just did again too because you pointed here first. So I was saying this time I didn't.
It was for funnies.
Somewhere. Click all around. There's a bell. There's a subscribe. There's likes.
It's my favorite thing to do whenever I make a mistake. I just act like it was being funny.
Making a joke. Yeah, it was a joke. I was being silly. But
that one time that you bent over and my pants just fell off. That was just for funnies.
Well,
on that note,
have a wonderful wild card weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Mile high salute.